Welcome to the Think Small podcast, hypergrowth for small businesses. So, what's slowing you down?
Well, hi, everybody. This is Rob Godlewski with the Think Small podcast. And today our guest is Ali Firoozi with the PAC Group. And Ali is the Chief Financial Officer of PAC Group. Ali, welcome to the Think Small podcast.
Appreciate it, Rob. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So the business at PAC Group is really interesting to me. So tell our audience a little bit about, what the business is and how you got here and what you're doing and what problems you're solving for your customers.
Great question. I'll do my best to summarize it as much as possible because I always lovingly refer to us as the most complicated little company people will ever encounter. We're only 500 people globally. Not that that's not a decent size of people, but our footprint really that's all around the world. Usually companies are, 50 or 100 times our size that have the footprint that we do. But it's a hard fought footprint that we've developed over 40 years now. And a little bit of our origin story, because it leads to what we do for our clients now, many of whom have actually been our clients for 40 years. Some of the major automotive OEMs being good examples that we've been with since the very beginning. We started doing project management and program management in the early days, smaller pieces of work when the company was first starting out. And over the years, as sometimes happens for companies, you grow, your disciplines, offerings expand, and you're able to do more and more for your clients. And all of the places in the world that we are today really are as a result of our clients. We followed them there because there was a need. They asked for support. We showed up and we never left. We're almost like a bad house guest, except in the company and country form. China's a good example. We went there in the mid 90s with automotive OEMs that were looking to expand into that market and said, hey, listen, everything you did for us in the US and Europe, can you please do it in China? And we said, sure. And throughout the years, our offering expanded to include manufacturing engineering. We do supplier quality work, a lot of construction management. We do that now today for some of the largest tech companies in the world. I know that sounds a little weird when you tell people we do a lot of construction management for a tech company, but distribution centers, a lot of real estate they own, different lines of business within the organization that really need that discipline is what we offer. We have product development and design. We have a whole division of our company that's dedicated to that, and we're helping major bus manufacturers really modernize all of their old schematics, their design processes. So we have our fingers in a bunch of different pies, and that's really by design. Although they don't at first glance seem to relate to each other, end of the day, a lot of our different disciplines end up tangentially touching one another. And many of the customers that we work with say, oh, I didn't know I could also get that from you. And before you know it, instead of just having a product development call, you now all of a sudden have a construction management call, and you have a manufacturing engineering call, and a supplier quality call. It really organically grows, and that was intentional from the very beginning, knowing the types of clients we go after, what their needs are. And a funny little note I like to always tell people, they say, well, how did you go from automotive companies to tech companies? That seems like a weird mismatch of industries. And what's interesting about that is a lot of what automotive did 20, 25, 30 years ago, think conveyor belts, think robotics, think supply chain management. Doesn't that sound eerily similar to what a lot of tech companies today need with distribution hubs, with all the conveyor systems they have in their distribution plants, the robotics they need, except for one set of inputs resulting in a car coming out the other end, one set of inputs results in the package that's delivered to your home, as an example. So although at first glance you don't find a lot of parallels, as you dig a little deeper beneath the surface, you see there's a lot of overlapping need that ends up really crossing industry boundaries. And that's really the synopsis of how we ended up where we are today, doing what we're doing.
That's really interesting. And I remember our first conversation, Ali, and it was centering around that the automotive industry was where the business really started, right? And
Yeah.
you just talked about that. But if you look at the services you provide the automotive industry pretty much has that down now. Right?
Yeah.
So it was really interesting to me when you said you're working with some of the largest e-commerce retailers, and I think
Yeah.
our audience knows exactly who those two main people are.
Yeah.
But they even need help. They aren't where the automotive manufacturers are today relative to their own business.
Right.
right? The
Yeah,
automotive manufacturing plant has been out there for 100 years, but e-commerce distribution has not. And
correct.
that's what you're helping them do today. And
Exactly.
so
Yeah, there's a lot of that efficiency that I think they're going to see very similar to what automotive saw over decades. So.
interesting. So did that kind of pivot from a customer, an industry vertical perspective, if you will? Did that pivot because you realized, oh boy, we're kind of tapped out in the automotive market. We better find a different customer. Or, how did that happen? Was there a
Sure.
contraction of revenue that kind of drove that?
I think what it really was a confluence of looking ahead. If you're not looking 5 or 10 years ahead to where you're going, for many business disciplines, definitely in our industry, if you're not looking that far ahead, then by the time the thing that's going to happen happens, it is far too late for you to act
Hmm.
because you really want to start moving in that direction first. You want to have a first mover advantage or as much of a first mover advantage as possible, and have time to properly transition your business. So it was a combination of, well, let me read the tea leaves. If we go back 5, 6 years when we really began this pivot, you look around the world and go, there really is enough car manufacturing in the world. Like there's enough of that. Now, are we in automotive? Absolutely. Is there still a ton of business there? Absolutely. We'll stick with our clients that we've been with for decades. We'll support them. The EV piece was huge for a while. That has cooled off subsequently. There's battery manufacturing associated with that. I'm sure that'll come back at some point, somewhat cyclical. But you have to go, if we want to continue to grow and have the next 40 years of this company, then you have to look at where we have to go. And that made sense of what are your disciplines and who else can use what you do today? You can do brickwork for a residential property. You can do brickwork for commercial property. You can do brickwork on the side of a skyscraper or in a park. I mean, to draw a very simple analogy that's, oversimplifying what we do. But if a
Sure.
discipline applies in A scenario and B scenario and C scenario, then look at another scenario that you can apply your trade. The subject matter experts you have, decades of experience, know-how, able to connect dots around the world for various things. And where can you go? And for us, that felt like a very organic shift. Not to mention, as you cited, e-commerce is relatively new. You could argue 20 years, maybe at best 25, that might be pushing it.
Mhm.
But it's only about 2 decades in, which is pretty early on in the business life cycle for where things are going. Now, I think it'll definitely progress far faster than automotive because we just have more technology around us in the modern world. The speed of these cycles has increased. But when you looked around and we thought, well, geez, where does this go? That's a good place for it to go because there's a need. We can add value, and we can do what we did for automotive clients. I mentioned a moment ago, just add value. That's the differentiator. How do you really add value? How do you go to your client and go, we can make 1 + 1 can equal 3 with what we can do for you. It's
Mhm.
more than the sum of its parts. And that's really been our proposition for the customers we've tried to support is, hey, listen, we can bring this knowledge that we have from outside. And by the way, oh boy, do we have a ton of it. You want robotics? We know everybody making this stuff. You want conveyor belts or how to lay out a plant or a distribution center or a warehouse of any kind? Geez, we have decades of experience doing that. We know what works, what doesn't work, the pitfalls not to watch out for. If you want to build a building, we can help you. You want to refurb an old building, we can help you. You want to relay out what your current building's doing, we can help you. And
Mm.
that whole Venn diagram I referred to earlier, as far as different disciplines being able to overlap with one another, it just made a whole heck of a lot of sense to be in this, e-retailer space, because we could add that value. And then hopefully the assumption is, and so far it's proven correct, that brings growth itself organically over years.
Right, right. So, there's an old kind of axiom in business leadership, and that is there's pretty much two ways to find growth, right? You either sell more products to your customers or find more products, or excuse me, find more customers to sell your stuff to.
Yeah,
And I think what you're doing right now is you're finding more customers to sell your stuff to or provide your
that's right.
services for. And and that so it sounds like you're in a period of I'm hoping pretty rapid growth right now because of expansion into this e-commerce market. Is that true?
Yeah, we've been growing year over year, and very pleased with it. Fortunate to be in the position we are to help the clients that we are. Um, it's truly a partnership, and we do our very best to be a value-added,
Yeah,
service provider for all of our clients, and certainly very happy with the direction that it's gone. With hard work, mind you. Certainly not something we just kind of landed into and
of
just
course.
got lucky with. So a huge credit goes to our frontline team members who work incredibly hard to make sure the things that we deliver for our customers are delivered, hopefully exceeding expectations, not even at expectations. But to your point, there's certainly been growth, and we expect a substantial more amount, lots more of it in the future, as long as we keep doing what we're doing, which is be the value provider, be the expert that your clients can go to solve a problem. I always like to say we provide solutions and we solve problems. That's our job.
Hmm. Right.
We don't sell a service, even though our time, our product is the most perishable product in the world, which is literally time. I can't store
Right.
it. I can't get it back. Once it's gone, I can't discount it after the fact. It is really the most dangerous business to be in. But if you do it right and you constantly show your customers, I fix things, we execute. We don't come in here as consultants. We don't talk to you for days and weeks and months and show you charts and what you should do. We come in and our job is to do that thing. And that, I
Mm.
believe, is where the difference is for us, for the customers that we serve. We're not coming in here as an expensive consultant company. We come in, they say, make A happen. And we say, we will make A happen. And then at the
Right.
end, we hand the figurative or literal keys back and say, A is done. Thank you very much. Come back when you need us to do B. We'll do B for you as well.
So clearly, in these times of growth that you're going through right now, it brings in a whole different set of challenges and problems and things that a business needs to grapple with. So what are some of those things you're dealing with now that maybe you didn't expect to see during a time of rapid growth? But and how are you navigating or helping your leadership team navigate the business through this period?
Yeah, that's a real good question. Everyone always likes to say colloquially, oh, it's a good problem to have. And I would say, true. The operative word remains problem.
Uh,
All things being equal, sure, you'd want this problem versus, gee whiz, no one's coming in the front door and we have nothing to do and all these people. But it is a challenge nonetheless. And not to give you a cop-out answer, but the problem is everywhere has needed attention. Everything from your HR department, how you recruit, how much you have to recruit, the speed at which you have to recruit, accounting from getting numbers close faster, processing all the increased AP and AR, finance for getting better numbers together. You find yourself updating chart of accounts. You find yourself even updating the website. You find the marketing department pressed to produce more accurate feedback. You're looking to provide way better business analytics for the frontline teams, looking to figure out, is the stuff that we're doing going well? Do I have enough metrics for our projects? Because the clients demand a higher level of visibility and more frequency of the data. So actually everything has needed upgrading. Some were in line with how much I thought we need. Others are a little bit more. The finance and accounting has certainly been an area of challenge because it's so entrenched into all different systems, whether it's time and expense reporting with Concur or how we process AP through our automated platform or how we do data visualizations. So I knew it was going to be a challenge, but not as big a challenge as it's turned into. Fortunately, I'm happy to know that we're on the kind of back nine as far as solving those problems, making a lot of changes that we are. But to answer your question, Rob, everything has needed improvement because we are growing at high double-digit numbers every year, which means the company's doubling in size just every couple of years, and that's a
wow.
pretty rapid, sustained pace of growth. So you keep outgrowing the clothing you put on last time, and almost by the time you're done with all your recent round of improvements, you got to start the whole thing all over again because you have to look again that time horizon ahead of you to where we're going, not where we are today. But where is it going to be in 12 and 24 months? And oh, wow, what we have in place right now probably won't be sufficient to do that a year or two ahead.
Wow, that's really interesting. But like you said, it is a good problem to have, and probably adds to a little job security for you and your colleagues at PAC Group as well.
If I do it right, if not, job security turns into not job security. But as long as I
Yeah,
do my
I
part, I'll
understand
be in
that.
good
That's for
shape.
sure. So, I'm really fascinated by your transition from an automotive industry, which basically got up to speed over 100 years with, revolutionizing their process flow and their efficiency in manufacturing an automobile.
Yeah.
And it was also stunning to me to learn in our first conversation that these large e-commerce retailers that have massive market shares in their e-commerce retailing space are still they're coming to you because they don't know what they don't know relative to specifically like last mile delivery. They know how to put up a distribution center, they know how to move product from A to B, but talk to us about some of those challenges that they're experiencing now and some of the solutions you're bringing to them.
A lot of solutions are around, hey, you guys have a great idea already in place. Here's how we think it's better because of our experience and what we've seen. We get to come in with fresh external eyes. And a lot of these companies have incredibly talented people working in them, very sharp, super bright, but may not necessarily have all of those years of experience behind. So they
Right.
bring a lot of solutions to the table. But a lot of our team members who've done something for 10, 20, 30, 40 years plus in some cases say, you know what? I see how you laid this out, but what if we suggested this? Or have you thought about laying your center out in that way? Or
Mhm.
when they're looking to do anything when it comes to construction management, because we've done so many plants all around the world, we know who the players are to look for. We know how to look for the cost savings, how it should be done right. Not the cheapest, how it should be done right. The value is the point. And I think that's become a somewhat of a lost focus for just in general in our world today. Too many places focus on the lowest price versus the right value. Do it once
Right.
at a good price, don't overpay. But if you do it cheaply, how many times we've seen in our business who someone who went with a lower quote and then ends up coming back to us later anyway to fix the problem that the other person caused, who happened to be the lowest bid, but didn't accomplish what had to be accomplished. So, you mentioned last mile. A lot of these companies are really excellent at figuring that out, but maybe not how the vehicle should be best designed or outfitted properly, or improvements that could be made to it, or in all the centers that lead to that last mile of delivery. What's the best way maybe to set a plan up or to get robotics installed or to lay out something. You can do, 3D mapping and planning for them, show exactly how something could run, doing material flow through it. So it'll sound a little strange. We help a lot around the edges, but that crisps up the fidelity of the picture so much that because the core system's already running so well, when you find the places to make fine tweaks and to just introduce some improvements, as it flows through the whole system in the process, the totality of the effects is substantial. You get a lot of improvement everywhere because a little bit of improvement over a wide volume of just activity, the net effect is you're netting a huge amount of improvement. If you save a
Mhm.
fraction of a second on this activity, but that activity happens 74,000 times an hour, well, geez, before you know it, minutes add up into tens of minutes, adds up to hours by the end of a day goes, which that net results in, oh, there's 10 or 15% more total flow through the day because we've freed up another 2 hours and change of ultimately flow because all those incremental, seconds that added up now have resulted in us doing almost the equivalent of another 2 or 3 hours a day worth of work. Just to use a
Wow.
simplified example, just to point it out. But that I believe is how we're really adding a lot of value for, our e-retailer clients is being able to show them you've done good. Can we help you do any better? And
Right.
here's how we can help you do that.
So I love, Ali, the fact that you earlier in this discussion you said that businesses really need to pay attention to what is on the horizon 5 and even 10 years out. Now I can imagine today within the world of AI, and I believe we're in the first inning of a 9 inning game of AI. What does 10 years look like? But I'm going to put the question to you. And let's scale the time frame back a little bit. What does the next 3 to 5 years look like for PAC Group?
Um, I believe we're going to continue to have substantial amount of growth over the next 3 to 5 years, specifically with the industries that we're in, because that's a good place to be for us, and we see a lot of room to run. So there's no real need to run to a lot of other industries just yet. There's other ones we're looking at that we'll begin working with over time. There's already some that have started trickling in. Um,
Hmm.
but because you brought up AI, I will mention it. It's become somewhat of a buzzword, and everyone uses AI as if there's a magic AI button you push, all of a sudden does something. Like you talk to AI and you go, figure out how to make this just better. That's not
Right.
exactly how it works. You really have to find ways to use it. And for us, functionally speaking, will AI help in finance and accounting? Absolutely. I think over the next couple of years, the tools will continue to get better. Teams won't just use the right prompts and help with Excel spreadsheet development or analytics. A lot of real programs will really start using it. Today, it's more of I like to say in many cases, it's a souped up chatbot. But as the next couple of years come, I think you'll find it actually working natively in a lot of programs to where it will actively start making suggestions to you. It'll almost be like that employee that's constant looking at everything, maybe pointing a trend out before you've even noticed it, before you even knew to ask. Hey, I've noticed that sales are up, but this is down. And looking at this category, I see these costs are trending upward as well. If we save there, well, then we'd actually, recognize greater
Right.
margin improvement, not just a revenue improvement. So it'll go to what I'd say a reactive engagement with AI, where you ask it something, it comes back to you, but you're still the initiator, to a lot more of a proactive, or what people imagine AI to be, which is that entity that's constantly evaluating what's out there and proactively giving you solutions, telling you things, monitoring, catching an error maybe before you did. That, I think, from the business side is where we'll see a lot of growth, whether it's HR software, accounting, or finance, or risk management software. I think all those areas are ripe for the next 3 to 5 years to be impacted by AI, in the company. But for PAC, our growth, I think we're going to stay the course, because the plan we're on was for, we call it PAC 2.0. We had our first 40 years, now we're looking the next 40 years.
I love
So
it.
this will probably be the areas we're in will probably carry us for some period of time. Maybe not the full 40 years. My crystal ball powers are nowhere near that good. But definitely for the foreseeable future, I think the path we're on is the right path. And we got the right leadership and just absolutely brilliant men and women who work for us, who are out there doing their very best to make sure that our customers are getting every bit of the advantage that we can provide them.
So I'm really glad you kind of expounded on the whole AI question, because I talked to a lot of C-suite level folks in this, with our guests, right? CEOs, business owners, CFOs, CMOs, and they all talk about the impact that AI is having on their business. But in every case, at least on the guests I speak with, in every case, they're treating AI as a way to improve efficiency and improve effectiveness, but nobody that I've spoken with is looking at it as a tool to eliminate headcount.
Yeah.
They're looking at it as a way to improve their business and to drive efficiency and effectiveness, but to make their existing employees smarter and more effective. And I kind of gathered that out of your description of how you're using AI to improve your business. So any more thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. My personal view on AI is very similar to, let's go back to when people first started using Lotus Notes 1, 2, 3, and that first spreadsheet came out. You may as well have told people it was the new second slicing of the loaf of bread. Like it changed to not
You're
have to
right.
do ledgers on paper, and the calculation errors that happen, and to not run tape, and to do it was a tool. And you could argue that, in some ways, it prevented you needing to add a lot more headcount. So maybe not fire who you is, but to do more with the people that you had. I view AI very much the same way. It's that tool that lets your current people just do more and do it faster. You might still at some point need to add headcount, but it might slow the need for headcount add. And in some businesses, you might be able to get rid of some people. I don't have specific examples that come to mind, but I'm sure in some places it might eliminate the need for some. But overall, as you cited, was your experience with most of the guests you've spoken to, I think we all
Mhm.
generally agree the consensus is empower, better data, faster, maybe less cost. Maybe we don't need as many of those outside software tools. That is something that I do appreciate about it. I think it might prevent us from needing to go out there and buy so many different pieces of software and have that tech stack just balloon in cost every year, and be
Right.
beholden to these companies that give you, oh, it's 5% more this year, and 7 and 9%. So for me, it's I think the tool, labeling with that tool marker, is the best way to use it. But I still want people validating it. I still want the person behind the button, so to speak. I don't trust it enough to just hand the reins of the kingdom over and say, oh, great digital overlord, please just figure everything out for me, and whatever you tell me is going to be gospel, and we'll go with it. I don't think we're there quite yet.
I love your facetious commentary on that one, Ali. That strikes a chord with me for sure. Um, well, listen, this has been a great conversation. I definitely appreciate your thoughts on growth. I love the fact that you're focused on the 10, 20, even a 40-year planning outlook. I think that's
I'll be
pretty
retired by
aggressive.
then, but it's the next generation. I'll be long gone by then.
Right. But do you have any last words of advice for leaders of small to mid-sized businesses and how they're running their businesses in an intellectually challenging time like we're in right now?
Yeah, I think the best piece of advice I can give, which is maybe a little bit easier to say than to practice, but do your best not to be too reactionary to things that you see. and sometimes a little bit of patience. Obviously, make sure the business is run well. You're not overly heavily burdened with either fixed cost, debt, things like that. I mean, that's just general advice overall. But the reason that matters is we oftentimes see, for example, what's going on right now in the world today, right? A lot of business, I've talked to friends in some places, and I see people already acting very reactionary to what's going on. I say, well, I get it. You're totally justified. Energy price, you look at secondary, tertiary effects, where it leads to, I'm 100% with you. It leads to fuel costs and fertilizer production, ultimately food and transportation price, everything goes up. I get it. Sure. But don't run to take steps that change your business right away if you can wait a little bit. Wait and see how things play out. Because when you react too much and you knee jerk and you keep swinging back and forth, I've seen a lot of people make really big decisions, short-term scenarios that they then had to live with that don't lead their business down the right path. One of the things that we do, and it goes directly to the question you asked, one of the key benefits that I always thought our business provided our people. We're not a Fortune 100 company. We don't give some absurd lucrative stock plan or just money showering from the heavens. We compensate very, very well. We actually care a lot about our employees, but I always tell many of our team members, one of our benefits, the fringe benefit that no one talks about, is our commitment to our people. When times have gotten rough, we didn't rush to cut, we got to lay off 12% of the workforce right now. Let them go. Like the owners have been very, I guess that's a benefit of being a private company, or if you have the courage in a public company to hold the board and investors at bay for a period of time, because that's a longer term outlook you have. When you dump people, especially good people, and if you've done a good job with your company, they're all good people. When you lose that organizational knowledge, that experience, when that stuff leaves the front door, they're not going to come back to you. If you laid them off, they're not going to trust you to come back for round two. They're going to go to another company because they got a life and a family and everything to worry about. So that being able to not have those reactionary effects and then to have to live with the mistake that you've made, that you thought, we got to cut people, or we got to change this strategy, or we got to do that. These have lasting effects long after maybe that short-term scenario has passed you by. So I'd say learn to have a little bit of patience and stomach a little bit of risk so you have a better outlook in front of you. So decisions you make match the scenario that's really unfolding, not the one that you thought might be.
Those are incredible words of advice, Ali. I really appreciate that. And to kind of paraphrase, for a business who's experiencing healthy double-digit growth, slow and steady still wins the race. Right?
Spot on. Never get overly down on yourself, and equally never get overly exuberant. I try to maintain just an even keel. A lot of times my people will tell me something, aren't you happy? I go, guys, that's fantastic news. Like, well, you don't seem happy. I'm like, well, you got to keep it calm. It's great news. I will celebrate. We'll add to our team. People will get promoted. Guys will get bonuses year end. There's so many ways we can recognize that. But for me, I learned years ago just to keep it relatively calm. On the other end, when they tell me bad news, like, that's it. I go, yeah, let's feel what happened. How can we fix it? What can we do?
Right.
That stay in the middle, that steadying of the ship. If you pick whatever maxim or adage you want to use, that just keep moving. Stuff is going to happen, good or bad. Don't let either of it drag you too far away. Keep that target in front of you, whatever that target is, the plan that it is. Don't have knee-jerk reactions. Keep going for it. Like a workout goal, like a health goal, like any goal you have. What are the actions you need? Create a plan and stick to that plan. Everything else is noise. Just learn to take it, absorb it, be the buffer for your people. But to your point, slow and steady. The turtle always wins. I believe that.
Well, Ali, I hope you're the turtle for a very long time.
Appreciate it, Rob. Thank you.
Ali Firoozi, CFO with PAC Group. Ali, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Welcome to the Think Small podcast, hypergrowth for small businesses. So, what's slowing you down?